The moment her lawyer leaned in and whispered those 5 words, her confident smile vanished completely. Her face went pale, her hands started shaking, and the papers she had been so ready to sign trembled in her grip. For the first time in months, I felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. But I'm getting ahead of myself because you need to know how we got here, and how a woman everyone assumed had given up patiently planned every step. My name is Crystal Cooper. I'm 34 years old, and until a few months ago, I shared a close sisterly bond with my sister from our foster days in Sacramento, California. But that day, my sister made it clear she wanted everything. She said, "The house, the cars, everything is mine. You can deal with whatever is left." This happened right after our mother passed away. My lawyer pushed me hard to fight back and claim my share. I told her, let her take it all. People around me thought I had lost my mind for handing over so much without resistance. She walked around with smug confidence, certain she had won right up until her lawyer turned pale and everything changed. If you're already hooked on this family drama and want to see how it ends, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I read every single comment. Thank you. Now let's go back to the beginning. Our bond formed early in that Sacramento foster home many years ago. We were orphans when Denise, who became my mom, took us in and gave us our first real sense of stability, with regular meals and bedtime stories that made the world feel safe. Mom built a home where Victoria and I could thrive, turning what could have been a temporary placement into a permanent family through her unwavering dedication to both of us equally. Victoria and I grew up inseparable during those early years, sharing everything from favorite toys during playtime to teenage secrets whispered late at night when Mom thought we were asleep. We faced school challenges together, helping each other with homework, or defending one another from bullies at the local elementary school near our Sacramento neighborhood. Those moments created a foundation of trust that seemed unbreakable as we dreamed about the future while walking home from classes hand in hand. I always performed better academically, consistently earning top grades through consistent study habits and extra credit projects that teachers praised in parent-teacher conferences. My efforts led to a full scholarship at the local community college, which not only covered tuition, but also brought recognition from the school board during an assembly where Mom beamed with pride from the audience. That achievement opened doors for part-time jobs that helped the family financially, while I balanced classes and home responsibilities. Victoria started showing subtle signs of jealousy around the time my report cards outshone hers, especially after I received that scholarship announcement letter in the mail one afternoon. Her compliments turned into offhand remarks like, "You got lucky with those grades," during dinner conversations, building resentment over months as family gatherings focused more on my successes. She withdrew slightly during family celebrations for my awards, choosing to stay quiet in the corner instead of joining the excitement, which I dismissed as temporary mood swings at first. I stepped up to support Mom in growing the local coffee shop chain she had started as a small venture in Sacramento, handling bookkeeping tasks after school by reconciling receipts and tracking inventory to prevent losses. I took on hiring part-time baristas from the community college job board, training them on customer service standards to improve daily operations and boost sales during peak morning rushes. My contributions helped expand from one location to 3 outlets over several years as I optimized shift schedules and negotiated better supplier deals for beans and supplies to cut costs without sacrificing quality. Mom loved both of us equally, treating birthdays with the same homemade cakes and school events with equal attendance. But she chose silence when tension surfaced between Victoria and me during those growing years. She noticed Victoria's sharper tone after my scholarship news, but hoped time would smooth things over, avoiding direct intervention to prevent favoritism accusations in our foster family dynamic. Mom focused on keeping the household peaceful, encouraging us to talk it out privately, while she managed the coffee shop demands that kept her busy from dawn until closing. But as years passed, Mom's illness brought everything to a head. Mom's illness had lasted for several years with gradual decline that required constant attention from someone close by in our Sacramento home. I took on the primary role of caregiver because I lived nearby and could adjust my schedule around the coffee shop shifts to be there for her every day without hesitation. My routine involved driving her to regular doctor appointments at the local clinic, where we discussed treatment options with specialists who monitored her condition closely over time. I prepared meals that followed her dietary restrictions, carefully measuring portions and ensuring she took medications on schedule, even when she felt too weak to remember herself. On particularly hard nights when pain kept her awake, I sat by her bed holding her hand and talking about old memories from the early days of the coffee shops to distract her from discomfort until she finally drifted off. Victoria rarely came to visit during those difficult months, despite living only a couple hours away in the same state, with easy access by car or train. Her phone calls were brief and superficial, usually lasting less than 5 minutes, where she asked basic questions about Mom's health before quickly changing the subject to her own busy life managing parts of the coffee shop chain. She often cited work commitments as the reason for not coming more often, claiming urgent meetings with suppliers or staff issues that couldn't wait, even though I handled many of those tasks myself from home. One call stands out when she said, "I'm swamped this week, but tell Mom I'll visit soon," only to never show up for weeks afterward, leaving me to manage everything alone. Those conversations left me feeling alone in the responsibility, as I sat by Mom's bedside reading to her, or simply holding her hand during quiet evenings when pain kept her awake. Mom passed away peacefully one morning after a particularly tough night, where I stayed up ensuring she was comfortable until the end, surrounded by familiar things in her own room. The funeral brought family and friends together at a small service in Sacramento, with everyone sharing stories about how Mom had touched their lives through her kindness and dedication to the community via the coffee shops she built from scratch. Victoria attended the service but left soon after, without staying for the reception, citing a prior engagement that required her immediate attention back home. Her absence during the gathering felt noticeable to several relatives, who asked me about it privately, expressing concern over the growing distance between us over recent years. Some even whispered that Victoria seemed distracted throughout the ceremony, checking her phone repeatedly instead of focusing on the moment. Victoria arrived unannounced at the family home shortly afterward, accompanied by Dustin Brown, her boyfriend, who also happened to be a well-known lawyer specializing in estate matters around Sacramento. Their sudden presence caught me off guard, as I was still sorting through Mom's personal belongings and paperwork in the days following the burial arrangements. Dustin spoke confidently about legal options for dividing assets, while Victoria stood beside him, nodding in agreement as they outlined their view on how things should proceed moving forward. He added, "From a legal standpoint, Victoria has strong rights here given her involvement in the business," in a tone that felt more threatening than helpful. They began going through drawers and files containing old documents without asking permission first, which made me uncomfortable given the sensitive nature of some items related to Mom's final wishes. One evening, they changed the locks on the main doors, claiming it was for security reasons during the transition period, but never provided me with new keys, immediately leaving me to request access later through text messages. That action raised serious questions in my mind about their intentions, especially since no break-ins or threats had occurred in our quiet Sacramento neighborhood before then. Victoria finally stated her position clearly during a tense conversation in the living room, saying, "I want the house, the cars, the shops, everything." Weeks later, amid rising tension in Sacramento, the pressure from Victoria's actions pushed me to seek support from someone I trusted completely at that point. I decided to open up about my growing concerns over Victoria's behavior and the jealousy that seemed to drive her recent demands during a long phone call one evening after work. I chose Pamela, my friend from high school years, because we had stayed close through college and early adult life, sharing many personal stories over coffee meetups whenever possible. I told Pamela everything that had built up since Mom's passing, including how Victoria's distance during the illness felt deliberate, and how her sudden arrival with Dustin made me question her true motives from the start. I explained the details of Victoria's declaration about wanting all the assets, and how Dustin's involvement as her boyfriend and lawyer added an intimidating layer to the whole situation in our family home. I shared my worries about the changed locks and searched drawers, mentioning specific instances where personal papers went missing temporarily after their visits. Pamela listened carefully without interrupting much, asking occasional questions to clarify timelines or specific comments Victoria had made during confrontations. I felt a wave of relief pouring out these thoughts to someone outside the family who knew both Victoria and me from earlier days, when things were less complicated between us. I asked Pamela directly if she would help me look into some of the financial transactions related to the coffee shop chain that seemed off, based on what I had seen in the books so far. I gave her a few examples of irregular entries involving large withdrawals that did not match regular expenses or supplier payments over recent months. Pamela assured me she would keep everything confidential, promising, "I won't breathe a word to anyone, especially not Victoria," while suggesting we meet soon to go over copies of documents I could provide safely. Her offer gave me hope that an outside perspective might uncover patterns I missed alone, especially since she had accounting experience from her current job in a local firm. In reality, Pamela betrayed that trust almost immediately by arranging a private meeting with Victoria shortly after our conversation to relay every detail I had shared without hesitation. She repeated my exact words about feeling threatened by Dustin's legal talk and my suspicions regarding the missing papers during their searches of the house. Victoria wasted no time using that information against me in a heated phone call the next day, where she mocked my concerns openly with sharp sarcasm. She said, "So you think I'm stealing from the family now after all I've done?" Twisting my words about the withdrawals into accusations I never made directly. Her tone carried clear satisfaction in knowing my private fears, repeating phrases I had only told Pamela, such as, "You felt alone during Mom's illness," to make the attack more personal and cutting. I realized the betrayal instantly when Victoria referenced specific memories I had mentioned only to Pamela during our confidential talk, leaving no doubt about the source of her new ammunition. The realization hit hard, deepening the sense of isolation that had started with Mom's passing and grown through Victoria's actions over recent weeks. I decided right then to end all contact with Pamela, blocking her number and removing her from social media connections without explanation or further discussion. That choice marked a clear line protecting what little trust I had left as the family conflict escalated in ways I could no longer ignore. A few days later, I started by reviewing the physical ledgers and digital records stored in the back office of the main Sacramento location that Victoria had taken over managing exclusively after Mom's health declined. I spent evenings after closing time cross-checking monthly invoices against bank statements, noticing discrepancies that did not align with normal operating costs for supplies or payroll over several quarters. I discovered multiple mortgage loans taken against the family home far exceeding its appraised value, with interest rates that compounded quickly due to variable terms Victoria had apparently agreed to without discussion. Those loans appeared tied to business expansion claims, but lacked corresponding improvements in the shops, such as new equipment purchases or renovations, that would justify the amounts borrowed. The realization that our primary asset was over-leveraged in this way sent a wave of concern through me as I calculated the potential equity loss if payments fell behind even slightly. My boyfriend offered to help by using his connections in document verification to examine signatures and dates on several key agreements related to the chain's finances. Together, we identified forged elements in transfer authorizations that attempted to shift control of shared assets without Mom's authentic approval or knowledge during her illness. Those documents contained inconsistencies in handwriting and timing that raised immediate red flags when compared to Mom's known signature samples from earlier legitimate papers. We gathered clear proof of Victoria transferring substantial cash sums from the business operating account directly into her personal banking profile across numerous transactions spanning many months. The patterns showed regular withdrawals labeled vaguely as vendor payments or miscellaneous expenses that never matched actual receipts or supplier records I could locate in the files. Seeing the totals add up to significant figures over time made the scope of diversion undeniable, leaving me with a mix of anger and determination to document everything properly. I made digital scans and physical copies of all critical evidence, placing them in secure off-site storage away from the house and shops to prevent any risk of discovery or destruction. I chose locations like a safety deposit box at a separate bank branch, ensuring multiple backups existed in case one became compromised unexpectedly. That process required careful planning during off hours to avoid drawing attention from staff or Victoria, who still visited the main location occasionally for oversight. I chose complete silence about these findings, maintaining normal interactions whenever necessary, while observing Victoria's behavior for any signs she suspected my knowledge. The decision to wait for the right moment stemmed from understanding that premature confrontation would allow her time to cover tracks or escalate legal pressure through Dustin. Keeping emotions hidden became second nature as I continued daily routines at the shops, interacting with employees who remained unaware of the underlying issues brewing behind the scenes. That weekend, an unexpected phone call came and shifted my approach in an unforeseen way. Aunt Sandra Johnson called out of the blue that weekend while I was reviewing some old receipts at home in Sacramento after a long day at one of the shops. She spoke softly but firmly, saying, "I've been thinking about your mom a lot lately, and there's something she asked me to watch out for if things got complicated after she was gone." She advised me to reach out to Mom's longtime assistant who had handled confidential matters for years, suggesting this person could provide clarity on certain documents Mom kept private. Her voice carried concern mixed with urgency as she added, "Don't wait too long, Crystal, because people might try to make things difficult." And stressed, "Meet her somewhere quiet and don't tell anyone else until you know what it is." She ended the call with, "Your mom trusted you to do the right thing," leaving me with a mix of curiosity and cautious hope. I arranged to meet the assistant right away that same weekend, choosing one of the older coffee shops in the chain that Victoria rarely visited anymore, to keep the conversation away from potential interruptions. The assistant arrived on time carrying a small briefcase and greeted me warmly, recalling specific moments when Mom had confided in her about family matters during late nights at the office. We found a quiet corner away from regular customers where she explained, "Your mom gave me this envelope years ago and told me to give it to you only if there was ever a dispute over her wishes." She expressed initial hesitation about handing it over, worrying about proper timing, but ultimately decided, "I think this is what she would want now, given everything that's happening." The assistant stressed the importance of following Mom's exact wishes by adding, "Open it only with a lawyer present or at court, so no one can question its validity." The assistant slid the sealed envelope across the table, explaining it contained original documents Mom had prepared with legal oversight to ensure everything remained valid and protected. She warned me repeatedly, "Keep it safe and don't let anyone else see it until the right moment," while mentioning how Mom had foreseen possible family tension and taken steps to safeguard what she considered fair for both daughters. Her expression showed relief mixed with sadness as she shared, Your mom always said you were the one who paid attention to details, and she trusted you to handle this responsibly. We talked briefly about Mom's final months with the assistant, recalling small conversations that reinforced Mom's quiet determination to handle things her own way without causing open conflict while she was still alive. I took the envelope home, immediately placing it in a secure spot within my personal safe that no one else in the family had access to or knowledge of its existence. I checked the seal daily to confirm it remained intact, while resisting the temptation to peek inside, knowing the assistant's warning about legal validity carried real weight. That period of waiting tested my patience as I continued daily routines at the remaining open shops, interacting with employees who sensed tension but asked few questions out of respect for the family situation. I began researching and contacting lawyers, specializing in estate and probate cases in the Sacramento area, reviewing online profiles and client feedback to find someone experienced with complex family disputes. After several initial consultations, I selected Sandra Wilson, my lawyer, who demonstrated clear understanding of California probate rules and strategies for contested wills during our first meeting. We discussed timelines and potential challenges, preparing a plan that involved gathering all existing evidence while incorporating whatever the sealed envelope might reveal at the appropriate stage. Her professional approach gave me confidence that the case would be handled methodically without unnecessary escalation early on. The feeling that I finally held enough advantage to face the upcoming confrontation grew stronger with each passing day, bringing a sense of inner calm I had not experienced since Mom's illness began. That quiet assurance came from knowing preparations were thorough and aligned with what Mom had apparently intended all along, despite the surrounding conflict. On the morning of the probate hearing in Sacramento, the formal session at the Sacramento County Superior Court began with all parties seated in the designated courtroom for estate matters. I had hired Sandra Wilson, my lawyer, who specialized in handling complicated probate disputes in the local area, with extensive experience in California law regarding wills and inheritance challenges. She reviewed our final strategy one last time in the hallway, emphasizing the importance of presenting the sealed envelope at this official stage to ensure maximum legal weight under probate procedures. Her thorough preparation over recent weeks gave me confidence as we entered the room, where Victoria and Dustin waited with visible assurance about the expected outcome. I had intentionally appeared cooperative during the earlier mediation sessions, agreeing to relinquish nearly all assets to avoid raising suspicions and keep Victoria from preparing counter-arguments. That calculated approach allowed her to assume victory was assured, encouraging her to relax defenses, while Sandra and I built the case quietly behind the scenes. The mediation meetings concluded with Victoria expressing satisfaction at my apparent concession, believing the division would proceed smoothly in her favor without further contest. Sandra explained this tactic helped prevent premature objections that could complicate introducing new evidence at the formal hearing, where rules favored authenticated documents. At the official probate hearing, Judge Margaret Ellis, the presiding judge, called the case to order, reviewing the file briefly before asking if both sides were ready to proceed with final arguments. Sandra requested permission to submit additional evidence in the form of a sealed envelope delivered through proper chain of custody from a credible third party associated with Mom's affairs. The judge accepted the envelope, examining the intact seal and documentation before carefully opening it in open court to maintain transparency for all present. The contents revealed Mom's original will, prepared secretly with full legal formalities, including notarized signatures from witnesses and accurate dating that met state requirements completely. The will specified clear distribution, leaving the family home, the vehicles, and the majority of the coffee shop chain proceeds to me, while allocating Victoria a fixed smaller portion without conditional restrictions. Judge Margaret Ellis read key sections aloud, confirming authenticity through comparison with known records, and stating the document appeared valid on initial review pending any substantiated challenges. Victoria reacted instantly, her complexion turning ashen as the terms became public, her posture slumping forward in evident shock at the complete reversal of expectations she had held firmly. Victoria's voice broke the silence with, "This can't be real," followed by a shaken, "How could Mom do this to me after everything I've done for the family?" revealing raw hurt mixed with disbelief as tears welled up unexpectedly. Dustin responded by rising quickly, his face flushed deep red from anger and professional embarrassment, attempting to interrupt with, "We had a solid agreement based on prior discussions." But the judge reminded him to wait for proper turn. His efforts to question validity fell flat, without supporting evidence, leaving him to sit back down while muttering objections that carried no immediate traction under court rules. That same evening, back home, alone with Mom's letter, the weight of the day's events finally settled as I sat in the quiet living room of the family house in Sacramento. I opened the envelope carefully, unfolding the pages Mom had written in her familiar handwriting during a time when her health allowed her to plan ahead without anyone knowing. The letter began with her love for both Victoria and me, expressing how proud she had been watching us grow from foster children into adults building lives together in the community we called home. She explained that over the years, she had noticed Victoria's growing resentment toward my achievements, turning what started as sibling rivalry into something deeper and harder to control. Mom wrote that she saw the jealousy affect Victoria's decisions, especially in managing the coffee shop chain where personal gain seemed to override family interests more often as time passed. Mom revealed she had created the secret will to protect me from losing everything to Victoria's actions that she feared might become dishonest if unchecked after her passing. She described consulting a lawyer privately to ensure the document remained valid and hidden until needed, preventing any alterations or pressure during her illness. Her words carried gentle regret for not addressing the tension openly while alive, but emphasized her belief that this step would restore balance and honor the efforts I had put into supporting the family over many years. Reading those lines brought a mix of sadness for what we lost as sisters, and relief knowing Mom had understood the situation clearly enough to act on my behalf, even from afar. After the court ruling, Victoria faced immediate financial consequences as the banks moved quickly to foreclose on the over-leveraged family home due to unpaid mortgage balances she had accumulated. The coffee shop chain shut down permanently within months, with locations closing one by one as suppliers demanded payment and customers dwindled from the negative publicity surrounding the family dispute. Victoria filed for personal bankruptcy under Chapter 7 to discharge debts, but lost most assets in the process, leaving her to start over with limited resources and damaged credit for years to come. Dustin ended the relationship abruptly once the case concluded, citing professional conflicts and the unfavorable outcome that affected his reputation in local legal circles. Pamela stopped all contact, disappearing from social circles and mutual acquaintances without explanation as news of her role in sharing confidential information spread among former friends. I made the choice to sever ties completely with Victoria, blocking communication channels and focusing energy on rebuilding without the toxicity that had grown over time. Living independently in Sacramento with the protected inheritance allowed me to maintain the family home and restart one coffee shop location on a smaller scale, hiring new staff committed to honest operations. Thank you so much for sticking with this family story until the very end. Your time and attention mean a lot to me as I share these experiences. Please leave a comment below with your thoughts. Have you seen jealousy affect family relationships? What do you think about secret wills like this? I look forward to reading your views.